Hello, 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 Rosebuds. This is your girl, Kimberly Ann. Welcome to the Rose Garden. If this is your first time visiting the channel, I want to ask you to please gently hit that subscribe button, ring my bell so you know when I post, and share with those you know that may need this message. I always suggest wait till the end of the video or this recording in this case, so then you'll know if this message is one for you and for somebody else that may need it. Um, I am not doing a video style podcast today. I did just go through a whole lot of purging, and I just don't really want to be in front of a camera. I just want to speak today. I am down by my favorite place, down by the lake, by our local beach, Edgewater, because y'all know this is my sanctuary over here. Like, if I could build a house right on this beach, I probably freaking would. I would. So yeah, I've went through or gone through. I had a moment where I realized I have always been a victim of emotional abuse. And I guess, like, for me, I didn't realize it was of the such because it mainly came from my dad. Um, it went from feeding me junk food to calling me fat to I'm getting bullied and jumped in high school to him pointing the finger at me and telling me it was my fault. Even through any challenge I've had in my life, it was my fault. I went through him being delusional than the fuck at saying that my brother was Andre 3000 from Outkast and ruining my entire high school life, which actually is part of the reason why it led to me being jumped, because people were jealous. I had parents who showed off their possessions. We have to ride up to school in a Jag. We have businesses. We live in the biggest house on the street, but we're still in the hood. And unfortunately, hood folks don't see that just because you have more, we're still in the same geographical location. They don't see that. You could be next door and they still think you're living in Beechwood, energetically. And a lot of that was from my parents. So mostly my dad. My dad had a strong hold on our household up until my brother and I departed and went our own ways. Unlike my brother, I had a lot more energy and healing work and lessons that I had to endure. So every time I tried to run off, the universe would pull me right back because there was healing that I needed to do. There was lessons I needed to learn. And there was cycles I was assigned to break. So I kind of understand why my life has been the way it is, why I have been being retrograded back into certain cycles. And when I decided to create the Rose Garden, I decided to create this in a way that helps others to be able to heal from familial habits, patterns, structures that really in the long run mean us no good. With that being said, it led me to today because I've been at this threshold where I'm like, what else is blocking me internally from being my biggest self, my grandest self, my most authentic self, my most feminine self? And I've been, going through the motions of trying to figure that out. And I've done so much purging this year. I've let go of people, places, and things that literally have meant me no good. I have literally, changed my parenting style this year alone. I've also reparented myself in a lot of instances. And now I'm like the last little string or cord in my life is like a dual thread of financial and parental blocks. Um, and I have been going through the motions of figuring out who I am outside of what I've been taught and the wounds that I've endured. So there's been a lot of survival teachings that I've taught myself, like learning how to read the room with precise precision, all because you've grown up with a dad where if a pin dropped, he would go off. So you've learned. I have had to learn how to accommodate for others' comfort. And that started in my household. And then it translated over into my friendships, into my relationships, into work, and even into my finances. Learning how to accommodate to make something more comfortable when in reality how when I should have been focusing on how do I feel, how can I make myself more comfortable, what can I do to be a positive ripple in my own life outside of the wounds, the chaos, all the above. And that has been the main theme for this year, to help me unlock my truest potential and my highest path. And I create this stuff for you all to help you guys be at that point as well. And I really, truly, genuinely hope that whoever my videos reach, they really, truly, truly are helping you begin to kind of look within, like, oh my gosh, her story sounds similar to mine. Maybe I can learn, how to stop self-sabotaging. Maybe I can unlearn hyper independence. Maybe I can unlearn people pleasing. And I'm hoping that that is what my message brings across to you guys. So I am going to do a card pull, even though we're on the video. I'll just tell you guys what the cards are. But our message today, it took me back to Black Panther. When T'Challa and, oh my God, Michael B. Jordan's character, I forgot his name, Killmonger, that's his name. Killmonger was in that fierce battle. And I equate that battle to being T'Challa, the higher self, and Killmonger, the dark, earthy self. That's really how I kind of equate that fight to. It's the fight between the light and the dark, the fight between your higher self, your lower self, the fight between your future and your past. And even in some instances, it can be the fight between your future and your present. Because your past, once it's passed by you, it really doesn't exist anymore. We make our past more present. So that's why I say, like, it can be between your present and your future. So I went back to that moment, and I can remember T'Challa's mother, played by the infamous, oh my God, what is her name? What is her name, child? I can think of all these other white actors' names, but I can't think of my girl name. She know who she is. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Google it. But T'Challa's mother, remember when she yelled out, "Remember who you are"? And what happened for me was, in the midst of me having this cry of realizing I was a victim of emotional abuse in more ways than one. I can hear my higher self saying, but who were you before the abuse? Before you even realized anything you were doing was wrong. And it wasn't that you even realized anything you were doing was wrong. You were told that it was wrong. You were told by ex-lovers you weren't loving the right way because you weren't bending over backwards. You were told by your father you weren't shaped right, despite him being the main cause of your shape. You were told that you were a bad child, because like in my instance, I fell in love with a neighborhood kid. And I did get in trouble. I snuck him into my house so that he and I could spend time together because I wasn't going into his shit. um, but I fell in love with someone, and it ended up going from this innocent, playful, youthful love to this big, drawn out, chaotic scene where it went as far as my parents tried to prosecute this little boy for rape. And it went very left, but get it didn't go that far until one of the neighborhood kids who it wouldn't look so suspect of him deciding to say something to my dad if he didn't try to talk to me later in life. So you were jealous that the quiet boy in the neighborhood was able to talk to the cutest girl in the neighborhood. So you decided to ruin the whole thing. And you actually ruined it for everybody because after that incident, my brother and I was no longer allowed to play with anyone in the neighborhood. Literally. I was whisked off to my mom's shop to work every day where she gave me the choice. Either I get kicked out the house, put up for adoption, or I come and work. Either way it go, I had to perform what they wanted for my safety. And that was how I ended up learning how to perform love. I learned to perform what the person wanted to create a safe space for me in their life. And here I am in my adulthood unlearning that because it really was not it wasn't a good thing to learn. And I understand they needed to discipline, but at the same time, they needed to break down how I should love and how, there wasn't a compassionate teaching, which is leading me to how I restructured how I parent. I don't discipline my kids in a reactionary way. I get the gist of the entire story and I get their why, and then I discipline from that place of compassion and understanding, which is so ironic. I remember I was talking to my dad in my early 20s, and this is before I met my oldest child's father. And I was like, Dad, I know I'm a really nice girl. I got my own job, my own car. I do my thing. I had moved out. I had my own apartment. And I'm like, I just can't seem to find love. I don't know what's going on. Like, all my friends got these long-term boyfriends. They carrying over from high school and all types of stuff. And I remember my dad said to me, you need to have more compassion. You ain't got enough compassion. That's why you can't attract no man. And I remember him saying that to me, and I remember, okay, well, maybe I guess I need to have more compassion. But he wasn't specific on what that compassion needed to look like. He wasn't specific in where that compassion needed to be directed. And what I am learning to do in my adulthood is I'm learning where compassion needs to be placed, who deserves that compassion, and how I can express it in a safe way for myself. So like for me, I have compassion for my kids. My parents, they didn't show compassion for my brother and I. My dad was a Bible thumper. He would use twisted scripture to get us to do what he want, or to get us to do what's more beneficial for he and my mom's sanity, in so many words. So we had to do what would keep them calm and keep daddy from going off. So I learned to have compassion for myself and understand my whys. Why do I feel like this? Especially the feel, like why I feel like this. And like I said, for my kids. And then I would have compassion. I learned to have compassion for others without self-sacrificing. My father never taught me how to have compassion for others without self-sacrificing. And I'm, like I said, I'm not faulting him, because he didn't know no better. He don't know. My dad's just a guy who had to fend for himself, and he learned certain survival techniques that may have worked in the 50s and 60s that don't work now. So that's the compassion I have. How will I continue dealing with a lot of the snarky comments and little things he liked to say? No, I don't have to deal with that. Which is part of the reason why, I keep a sacred, and I'm going to say sacred distance, to where I'm available enough to be the loving daughter, but not enough to be the punching bag, if you know what I mean. So, leaning into the actual message, and the angel number for today is 38, number 38. And I use that because that is my age right now. And 3 plus 8 equals 11. And 11 is a master number. And I find myself this year mastering not only my emotions, but my truth, my voice, and my purpose. And it led me, after realizing, hey, Kim, you can honestly say, you were a victim of emotional abuse. And I was like, I think I better go get therapy. I think I need therapy just to kind of uncover anything else or any more remnants that may be shielding my life, and shielding my light at that. And I'm going to go to therapy until my higher guides say, okay, that's enough. And it led me to say, like, because I can feel like I have a divine counterpart nearby. And if anybody is like up on a spiritual, like you feel your divine counterpart before they arrive. It doesn't feel like any other connection, and it doesn't feel like a set of handcuffs. It don't feel like a bunch of weight. It actually feels freeing and light, and like it's kind of unexplainable, but I'm in that threshold right now. And I said to my guides, once I kind of like had that emotional cry, I said, you gotta hold him off longer. I get he's waiting and he's ready, but you gotta hold him off longer, because if I deal with him right now, I'm gonna bleed on him. I just found probably the biggest and the deepest wound that I could have ever possibly found. Because 1, there was no name for that wound. 2, it was subconscious as hell. And 3, it has been part of my life force thus far. So I haven't dealt with this enough yet to feel safe enough to love someone correctly. Some of the patterns that come from emotional abuse, that you will exude. I don't even want to get into some of what emotional abuse is, because I am fully aware many of you know it all far too well. So I just want to list off some of the things that you would notice in yourself that will let you know you are in a reactionary energy to being emotionally abused, and it actually being like masked under parental control, love, so on and so forth. So some of the things that I would do, which was a reaction to emotional abuse, which is the biggest one for me, is silence treatment, the silent treatment. And silent treatment, um, for me, has been this shield of emotional safety for me, where if I feel someone is threatening my peace, I just retreat. And say, you can say it's the Pisces in me if you want, but I literally would retreat and I wouldn't say a word. Some folks have not heard from me in over 20 something years, and they may never hear from me. Um, I did it to my youngest child's father, but I did it differently this time, which is why I'm okay with what I did this time. But I know moving forward in other relationships, um, it'll be I'm definitely gonna have like a reason as to why I have to break connection. I'm not just gonna drop it and leave someone in the trauma of trying to figure out what the fuck they did. But I did it to my child's father several times throughout our relationship. But this last time I did it to protect myself from his impulsive "I need you" really sexually. And he didn't understand when, if y'all listen to the video where I said how to defeat a narcissist like a queen, that was our last conversation. He literally just let everything I said go in one ear and out the next. So I had to do the silent treatment on him. I had to ghost him. And I'm not even gonna say it's a silent treatment, literally ghosted him, because there will be no reconnect whatsoever. Not between he and I. Now my daughter has her own phone, so he can literally call her and he won't. He has not reached out to her at all. So silent treatment is one. Um, Hypervigilance, where someone walk up on you and your entire body tense up for you to be ready to fight, because possibly in many instances you have had to, in so many instances where you thought you could be safe and you weren't. And that was my case. Like, I thought I was in safe environments up until it was no longer safe. Another pattern, I'm gonna try to give y'all three good ones that I know I have suffered from, is overthinking. Like, literally playing out scenarios of what could go wrong and trying to address the problem before it arrives. So that could be trying to anticipate someone's needs before they need them, so then you don't feel like you're the reason they're not getting their needs, or you could just be the solution for them before they need. And a lot of African American women do this because we've been raised to self-sacrifice ourselves for the greater good and forget what it is we need and we desire. You got to do for everybody else so then you could be safe later. Always putting our safety behind someone else's. So that was some of the ways where I realized, okay, yeah, who was I before all of that? I had to start asking myself that. That was the question I asked myself. And I want you all, as you listen to this, and you can slow this down. You guys know y'all can hit that little screw in the top right hand corner and slow this down so you can write these questions down. I'm going to go as slow as I can. But I want you to ask yourself in this moment, because I'm for certain you have had a lot of memories pop up since I've started talking. Who were you before your wounds? What was fun to you? What did freedom feel like to you? Do you remember when being perfect wasn't a priority? Do you remember how you felt when you just knew you could do it and no one was there to tell you you couldn't. What about where you wanted to go before anyone told you it's unsafe without evidence to support it? How did you love before someone who knew nothing about love told you you were doing it wrong and even rejected you? So I want you to really think on those questions. You can even pause this recording and like really think on those questions. I'm actually ready to like do my next workbook because there's definitely more to unpack, child. Definitely more to unpack. But I want to leave you with this little statement, and then I have an affirmation that I want you guys to say. And like I said, slow this video down, write it down, say this to yourself to help you kind of find who you were. And I want to also extend to you at this time the opportunity to allow me to help you find you. One of the ways that I have gained a lot of my power back and a lot of who I am back was through my natal chart. And I actually thanked my mother because I said, if it wasn't for you introducing me into astrology, I would have never found the answers that I need. And it was through my natal chart that I was able to see who I was supposed to be, or who I was born to be, who my original essence was before I incarnated. And then I was able to see what wounds I was brought, or not wounds, but why I was brought here and what lessons I was supposed to learn, how they would affect me, and then how I can rebuild myself or remember myself to become the full essence of who I was before I reincarnated. So I want to extend that offer to you. You can check my description box below. There are plenty of offerings down there, especially my workbook, Reclaiming Your Crown. That is a full game changer. It is a gentle nudge to help you begin to uncover your path, to help you become accountable, so then you can start to get through this journey like I am and get to this place of softness, of peace, of love, where you can thrive without that hustle, hyper independent mentality. I have had several friends of mine and a coworker who have purchased the book, and they are just like, I've never cried so much in my life. I never knew I had so much to unpack in my life until I went through this short but powerful workbook. And it is available on Kindle as well as Amazon.com in paperback. Okay? So I want you guys to understand how society and our family structures can lead you to believe that you have to gain your wholeness through calling things from outside of you. So, they'll always say, call your power back. Go grab the pieces of you that's located all around and da 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 da. Right? But what if I said, you've been whole this entire time? What if I said that to you? How does that question make you feel? When I asked myself that question, I said, I never had to go retrieve a leg. I never had to go retrieve my heart or anything. I have been a whole person this entire time. And I think because so many of us have been put in situations where we've been treated like assets in people's lives, we assume that we've lost so much of ourselves once we reach a period where we're ready to heal. But I want to tell you, Rosebuds, you've never been broken into pieces. You have been the spark in many people's lives, whether they've told you that or not. All you have done was, like a lantern, turn your fire down. A lantern will always light until the oil runs out. And you can turn the fire down or you can turn the fire up. And as long as you have your blood, oil, running through your veins, you can turn your fire down to make others feel better and light, or you can turn your fire up. But notice that fire is inside of a glass container. Nobody can take your fire from you. Nobody. It is yours and yours alone. Do not let society lead you to believe that when you're ready to heal, you have to go and grab the pieces of yourself to make yourself whole. Don't let society lead you to believe that you have to please this portion of a person and please that portion of a person, or be with another person to be whole. You've been whole this entire time. You've been who you are this entire time. This is now the time for you to redefine who you are before the wounds, before the betrayals, before the emotional or physical abuse, before the sexual abuse. That is where you regain your power. When you remember your pure, authentic, innocent, loving self, essence that is within. 3232, as I said that. That is when you remember who you are. And you are no longer defined or being fueled by false teachings, abuse, betrayal, neglect. You will release all of it. And you will begin to live as if none of that shit mattered. The only thing you will take from all of it is the lessons you learned, 3311. And you will go live free. Because now you have the proper boundaries. Now you have the proper masculine structures to ensure no one else will get you to turn your lantern down. You get to be your own spark. So I want to leave you with this affirmation. I am the woman I've always been. I receive love that cherishes, is authentic, and freeing. I am soft, I am safe, and I am sovereign. I have the courage to be known, kept, and seen. I receive love that reflects the light I have within. I am whole, I am home, I am her. Thank you so much for tuning in today, Rosebuds. Like I said, I did it a little bit different today, more of a podcast style. I'll be probably back on camera by tomorrow for sure. But I love you guys to the moon and back. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful, happy Tuesday. And really, really, really sit with this podcast. Play it over a couple times. I know I will. Goodbye, Rosebuds.